This is Prufrock and we're starting from line 98. It's a new stanza. Would it have been worth it after all? Would it have been worthwhile? So we've got the word worth being repeated twice, so we're talking about value here. After the sunsets and the dooryards and the sprinkled streets, those are specific places where he seems to have walked or to have been. After the novels, the teacups, the skirts that trail along the floor. So these again are the attributes of polite society, the stuff that you talk about. And the skirts that trail along the floor carries this overtone of sensuality. We've had dresses with perfume which throw you off your thoughts. So the dresses that trail along the floor sound as though they are similarly alluring and can throw you off what you're trying to do. And this and so much more, question mark. Note the frequency of questions in this poem. Prufrock's uncertainty and inability to be sure of himself is frequently indicated because there are lots of question marks here and lots of dashes and lots of ellipses. And all of those are ways of interrupting and ending without concluding the utterance. So along the floor, and this and so much more, it is impossible to say just what I mean. So he comes out with it there. Communication has failed him. He has no words. He's just not able to say what it is that he would like to say. Words are inadequate. But as if a magic lantern through the nerves in a pattern on a screen. So even though words fail him, if there was... Now, a magic lantern is a slide which has a light behind it, and the image is projected onto a screen or onto a wall. So it's a very early form of slide projector. And the pattern of nerves, the pattern of nerves that would be shown on this screen would be, it sounds like it's a complex sort of vein-like tangle. Nerves are literal. They're all over our body. We're made of them. They're essential to us. But they also have the psychological, psychiatric interpretation that you can be nervous. Your nerves can bother you. A nervous breakdown is a term that was used certainly in Eliot's lifetime to indicate profound mental health problems. And the nerves can be shown, they can be projected if you've got this magic device. So even though words don't work for him, if it would be possible to still reveal what is going on inside him, would that have been worthwhile? Is it something I should have done? Should I have found a way to reveal myself and to ask these questions? But would it have been worthwhile if one of these women, settling a pillow, throwing off the shawl and turning toward the window, in other words, rejecting him, turning away, should say that is not it at all. That is not what I meant at all. He is circling back to the problem of not being understood, which is what he discussed in the previous stanza. And then he answers himself, no, I am not Prince Hamlet. Hamlet is famously characterized as a ditherer, somebody who couldn't make up his mind. Personally, I think that there are more sophisticated explanations for that, but the idea that he can't make up his mind is particularly noteworthy because of the most famous Shakespeare soliloquy of all, to be or not to be. That is the question. And here, Prufrock says, no, I'm not Prince Hamlet, nor was meant to be. Two meanings. He was not meant to be like Prince Hamlet, but also he wasn't even meant to be. He shouldn't even exist. This is a bold and striking allusion to the most introspective of all Shakespeare's characters. And we can draw from that the conclusion that the stream of consciousness and the introspection which we have gone through with Prufrock is of Hamlet-like proportions. It's very significant. He says, I was not meant to be Prince Hamlet, the star of the show. I am an attendant lord. So the image points to Hamlet and then swerves away and says, oh, actually, I'm just the guy standing next to him. I'm the attendant lord who's just there to swell a progress, start a scene or two. I'm a bit player on the stage. To advise the prince, which is a reference to Polonius, who was a bit of an old ditherer, very wordy, woolly old fool. I'm deferential, happy to please, glad to be of use, politic, cautious and meticulous, very, very careful, know what I'm doing, full of high sentence, but a bit obtuse. So he battles with words, he battles with self-expression, he is unimportant, he is just a minor player, indeed at times almost ridiculous, almost at times the fool. Okay, that is now an allusion to another Shakespearean convention. The fool looks like an idiot and is a comic and makes fun all the time, but the fool is wise. A wise fool can speak the truth. Disguised behind the comedy and the play, the truth can be spoken by the fool. Prufrock is saying, I'm almost ridiculous. I'm almost, at times, the fool. So a fool is wise. And we have this contradiction and the dichotomy of Prufrock being at once socially paralysed and deeply inadequate, and at the same time having these extraordinary insights. I grow old, the obsession with time, the ellipsis, it's ticking by, it's going by. I shall wear the bottoms of my trousers rolled. This excites a lot of comment. 2 lines on, he says, shall I part my hair? Do I dare to eat a peach? Shall I wear white flannel trousers and walk upon the beach? We've seen him being very carefully dressed for a party in a well-chosen tie with a very nice coat, a jacket that's nicely tailored and held in place with a pin. Here he's saying, should I chuck all that aside? Should I actually go to the beach? And if I walk on the beach, I'll need to wear white flannel trousers, which is casual attire back then. And I could even eat a peach, which will be all lurky and messy and drippy and will spoil the white flannel trousers. And to walk on the beach, I might need to roll my trousers up. And I could part my hair behind. That's a comb over covering up the bald spot. It's a completely different character. The man who does the hair differently, wears the white trousers, goes to the beach, rolls the trousers up, walks along. This is not the man who was tremblingly ascending the stair. Is there another me that I should have actually been? Because I'm growing old, and the opportunity to do that isn't going to come again. He is thwarted, he is isolated, he is frustrated, he is weary, he is regretful. Now, of course, the other interpretation of eating a peach is much more frankly sexual. And in the next line, we get that. I have heard the mermaids singing each to each. The mermaids evoke beauty, romance, physical allure. They are gorgeous, and I have heard them. I have heard those beautiful, alluring, mythical, exotic creatures. I know what happens. I've seen them. I've heard them singing to each other, but I don't think they'll sing to me. The mermaids who sing, the alluring mythological fairy tale-like creatures, they're out there, and I've heard them like the music in the far room. But it's not for me. That isn't where I fit in. He's disillusioned. And society is disillusioned. Prufrock is not speaking just for himself. He is representing every man, the ordinary person, the person that we all are. We don't get sung to by the mermaids. They sing for heroes and for other people. I have seen them riding seaward on the waves, combing the white hair of the waves blown back. It's a magnificent opening, this last stanza. It's fantastic. They're riding the waves as if they were horses, and they're combing the white hair of the waves. It's marvellous that the ocean is there. The waves blown back when the wind blows the water white and black. The water looks like this terrific mane of hair, and it's white and it's black and it's blown by the wind, and it's got vigor and life and rhythm, and they're riding it and they're going with it, and they're alive. But we have lingered in the chambers of the sea, by sea-girls wreathed with seaweed red and brown. We've gone back to we. The you and I from the beginning of the poem has come back. And while these exotic, magnificent symbols of mythological elemental beauty, these are like the sirens who lure men to their death. And Odysseus is the Greek hero who wanted to hear the siren call, but he knew that if men hear the siren call and follow it, then they are entranced by its beauty, but it leads them to their death. And Odysseus contrived a way of being able to hear the sirens singing, but he asked his men to tie him to the mast of his ship so he could hear them, but he couldn't actually escape and follow them. And he made his men plug their ears so that they wouldn't be seduced by the women. So here, Prufrock's saying, I've seen them, and I know, and we have lingered in the chambers of the sea by sea-girls wreathed with seaweed red and brown. Beneath the banal futility of the ordinary lives that we lead, we have seen the beauty, the love, and the sympathy, but can provide none of them. And the last line of the poem is, till human voices wake us and we drown. It's a sad ending. He's saying, we can't live in the real world. The real world is what kills us. The depth, the low underwater metaphor is about creativity, it's about psychology, it's about depth, it's about the elements, it's about the fundamentals of life, and it's about artistic expression as well. But ultimately, the real world, the toast and the tea and the stairs and the party and the social interaction and the way people judge us and what other people think of us and all of the niceties that we're caught up in and the ugly city which disconnects us from each other and is not beautiful and does not allow us to reach each other, and the complete lack of human connection. When we hear the human voices, they wake us from this dream of our elemental beautiful scene in the chambers of the sea, where we're linking in the depths of our souls. Ordinary daily life wakes us and we drown. A quick recap now of the principal techniques in this poem, which I hope you've picked up, and I'm going to just rattle through a list. Number 1, disembodiment, fragmentation. We see the parts of things. They are not synthesized into the whole thing. We are left to interpret whether the fog is a cat, the cat is a fog. The men are lonely and have pipes. There are no families. The streets stop us from doing what we should. Things are broken up. They're fragmented. Fragmentation is, of course, number 1 modernist technique, and Eliot is the number 1 modernist poet. He did these things very early on in the modernist period of literature. Simple, blunt words. The vocabulary here is really simple, which contrast at times with extended structures. So those flowing longer words, look always at the length of the vowels, because the pattern of the word, whether slow and full or whether short, sharp and jabby, is going to be in the vowels. Allusion, quoting, repetition, the repetition and the recycling and coming back to things that have been said earlier in the poem, or saying a word more than once, these signify the sense of agitation and anxiety which Prufrock is experiencing. The motif of time and the essential immobility which Prufrock feels, and his indecision, his decisions and revisions, and his inability to move forward, to move up the stairs, down the stairs, he is stuck. Look at the range of imagery. Some of the imagery is very jarring, very startling. A lot of it is very confusing. To answer questions in exams, you need to be able to say what that imagery evokes in you. So think about your personal response to things like the patient etherized on the table, the yellow fog, the disembodied severed limbs of the beautiful women, the smell, the wriggling on a pin, the sea, the last two stanzas with this magnificent image of mermaids riding and cresting the waves and living in the chambers of the sea, down in the depths of the elements, where life begins, contrasted with the meagerness, the coffee spoons, the bald patch, the thinness of his arms and legs. You need to think about those images and have your own personal response to them. Remember, it's a dramatic interior monologue. We are overhearing his thoughts. And notice the anti-aesthetic, anti-romantic approach in the poem. Nothing here is nice. Everything is subverted. From the title onwards, everything is subverted. Something beautiful is undercut. Something ugly is seen to be the dominant feature. And finally, the way in which the irregularity of the structure, the meter, the rhyme scheme, and the rhythm is itself emblematic of the disruption and the dissociation and the disorderliness and confusion of Prufrock's mind. What you see on the page signifies what it is like to be inside Prufrock's head. Great poem.